All right, so today we are going to be deep diving into personal branding.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at this YouTube video by Matt Gray called How to Build a Profitable Personal Brand in Just 30 Days.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. He actually built a multi-million-dollar business
Wow.
using these strategies. And he says that we can too.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, so whether you're thinking about starting your own business or just want to kind of boost your influence online or just understand this whole personal branding landscape a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
I think there are going to be some really valuable insights here.
Yeah, it's interesting how much things have changed, right? Like it used to be you could just have a good product and that was enough.
Right.
But now it's all about the person behind the brand.
Totally.
People want to know like your story, your values, what makes you tick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about connection.
Yeah.
And Matt Gray, he gives some great examples of this.
Oh.
Like Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely. Like all these people have built these massive, huge followings that really fuel their success.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, think about it. We're bombarded with so much information all the time.
Right.
And like a strong personal brand cuts through the noise.
Totally.
It makes you stand out.
Mm.
People trust you. You seem credible. And that all leads to profitability.
For sure. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, you've convinced me personal branding is important.
Okay.
But like, how do we actually do it?
Right.
How do we build a brand?
Well, Matt Gray, he gives this framework of 5 pillars.
Okay.
Brand system, compounding content, audience growth systems, monetization moments, and core team.
Wow, that sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is, and that's what's so great about it. Like
Yeah.
building a personal brand can feel overwhelming.
Totally.
But this framework breaks it down into, like bite-sized pieces.
Okay, so digestible,
Yeah.
manageable steps.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's start with the foundation, that first pillar, the brand system.
Okay.
So what is this all about?
Well, it's about like getting really clear on your vision,
Mm-hmm.
your mission, your values, who you're targeting,
Right.
and your content strategy. Like, what are you actually going to be putting out there?
Okay, so it's like figuring out the DNA of your brand.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting. He talks about developing content IP.
Content IP. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's about creating these unique elements that people automatically associate with you.
Okay, I like that.
Like think about Casey Neistat's sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
That became like a signature element of his brand.
Right, right.
Or like Daniel Schiffer with his thumbnails.
Okay, yeah.
It's instantly recognizable.
So it's like finding your personal branding trademark.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm big in that. So how do we figure out what that is?
Well, Matt Gray really stresses market research.
Okay.
He says, like, actually talk to your target audience. Find out what they need, what problems they're having, what they really want.
And those answers will shape the content that you create.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's about giving people what they want, not just what you think they want.
Right, very cool. Okay.
And this leads perfectly into the second pillar,
Right.
compounding content.
Okay, what's that?
This is where he gets into the nitty-gritty of content creation. Like,
Yeah.
how do you actually, create stuff and make it impactful?
And he has a system for this.
He does. It's called the content waterfall system.
Content waterfall.
Yeah, and it sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple.
Okay, break it down for me.
So you start with this one, like, pillar piece of content,
Okay.
like something high value, maybe like a YouTube video or a long-form blog post, and then you break it down into smaller pieces
Okay.
and repurpose it across different platforms.
So it's like one piece of content spawns all these other pieces of content.
Exactly, you got it.
Okay, got it.
He actually gives an example.
Oh, yeah.
He turned a single X thread into over 30 pieces of content.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So one X thread, 30 pieces of content.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. But honestly, sometimes the hardest part is coming up with the ideas in the first place.
Well, Matt Gray has a solution for that, too.
Of course he does.
It's his content idea machine.
Okay, content idea machine. What's that?
It's pretty cool. He uses ChatGPT prompts.
Really?
Yeah, to generate tons of ideas.
Wow.
And he categorizes them by different types.
Oh, okay. Like what?
So like educational, emotional, deep dives, reflective, vulnerable, edutainment.
Edutainment.
Yeah. And of course, lists.
Lists are always good.
Always a winner.
That's awesome. So ChatGPT can actually do that.
Apparently.
This is blowing my mind a little bit. So this actually worked for him.
Oh, yeah. He says he grew his audience to over 2 million in like 20 months using this stuff.
Wow, 2 million. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not just about pumping out any old content, though.
Right.
He really emphasizes creating content that connects with your audience on like an emotional level.
Okay.
So something that, inspires them, educates them, entertains them, makes them think.
So it's not just about the quantity, it's about the quality in the connection.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So we got our brand figured out.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating awesome content.
Check and check.
And we've got our audience growing, but how do we turn this into a business?
Well, that's where the third pillar comes in.
Okay, which is
Audience growth systems.
audience growth system. So this is where he talks about the actual tools and strategies for scheduling content,
Yes.
analyzing data,
Yeah.
and optimizing performance.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, he's a big fan of automation and batch creation.
Oh, yeah.
Like he recommends doing things like creating 15 videos in a day.
15 videos. Wow.
Or writing, 20 pieces of content in 2 hours.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is, but the idea is to work smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
So by batching things and using automation tools, you can stay consistent without burning yourself out.
That makes sense.
And that consistency is what's going to help you build that loyal audience.
Totally. Consistency is key. We hear that all the time. Okay, so we've got our brand figured out.
Yeah.
We're creating awesome content. Our audience is growing. But how do we actually, get paid?
Right, the money question.
Yeah.
That's where the fourth pillar comes in.
Okay.
Monetization moments.
Monetization moments. Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, Matt Gray's approach is all about seamlessly integrating those calls to action within your content.
Calls to action. Okay.
Like inviting people to take that next step.
Okay.
And it's got to be done in a way that feels natural, right?
Right. You don't want to be too salesy.
Exactly. It should feel like a natural progression.
Right. Like it makes sense in the flow of things.
Yeah, like you're providing value and then offering a way for people to go deeper if they want to.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's not afraid to experiment with different monetization strategies.
Okay. Like what?
Like maybe it's building an email list.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's selling products.
Okay.
Maybe it's offering consulting services. It's really about finding what works best for you and your audience.
Right. And you're allowed to try different things.
Exactly. There's no one right way.
Okay. This is making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered content creation, audience growth, monetization. But what about building that personal media company he talked about?
Yes, that's where the fifth pillar comes in.
So,
Building a core team.
okay, building a core team. And he uses this analogy right.
He does.
Yeah, weapons.
Yeah, weapons. And these are individuals who can 10x their area of expertise.
Okay, so they're like the specialists.
Yeah, like superhero
Okay.
with their own unique superpowers.
That's cool.
Coming together to help you build your brand.
All right, so who are these people?
Well, he talks about social media managers,
Okay.
writers, video editors, videographers.
Okay, so the people who can handle all those tasks that maybe you're not so good at.
Exactly. So you can focus on what you do best.
Right. It makes sense as your brand grows.
Yeah.
You can't do everything yourself.
No, it's impossible.
So building a team allows you to, get more done.
Right, to delegate and scale your impact.
Yeah, to amplify your reach.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, this is all really starting to click now.
Yeah.
It's like each pillar represents a different piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put them all together,
You get the complete picture.
yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Well, you have.
Exploring these 5 pillars of Matt Gray's framework.
Mm-hmm.
But how does he actually put all these principles into action?
Right. What does it actually look like in practice?
Like what specific tactics and tools does he use to get these amazing results?
Well, that's what we're going to delve into in part 2.
Okay, so stay tuned because things are about to get even more interesting.
Going to be good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this framework, these 5 pillars that Matt Gray lays out for building a personal brand.
Right.
But now let's get into the actual, how to,
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
the nitty-gritty, exactly.
Yeah.
How do we make this happen? What tools, what techniques?
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me was his focus on systems and using technology
Okay,
to make things easier.
right. To be more efficient?
Exactly. Remember how we talked about batch creating content?
Yeah.
He uses a tool called Hype Fury to schedule his posts on X.
Okay.
So it's like having a social media manager.
Working 24/7.
Yeah.
Even when you're sleeping.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So that frees up his time to, focus on other things.
Like creating that high-value content.
Exactly. Or engaging with his audience.
Okay, very cool. So what else?
Well, he also uses this tool called Tweet Hunter.
Tweet Hunter.
Yeah, and it helps him find inspiration for his X content.
Oh, so it's like a content idea generator.
Kind of, yeah. but it also helps him stay on top of trends.
Okay, so he's not just like throwing things out there randomly, he's being strategic.
Yeah, exactly. He's thinking about what people are actually interested in.
Cool, that makes sense.
And then he's also big on data analysis.
Data analysis, okay.
Yeah, so he uses X Analytics
Mm-hmm.
to see how his posts are performing,
Okay.
and Taplio for LinkedIn Analytics.
Okay, so it's all about tracking your progress, seeing what's working, what's not.
Yeah, exactly. So you can adjust your strategy as you go.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not all about the numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
He also talked a lot about building those genuine connections.
Yeah, he really believes that authentic engagement is key.
Right. It's about building relationships.
Exactly. He's always interacting with his followers, responding to comments, even doing those live Q&A sessions.
Oh, wow. So he's really making that effort to connect.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's about building a community, you know?
Right. I like that.
People want to feel like they know you, like they can trust you.
So let's talk a little bit more about those monetization moments.
Okay.
This is where I think a lot of people get stuck. They have the content, they have the audience,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not sure how to, actually turn that into a business.
Right.
So what's Matt Gray's approach here?
Well, it's all about seamlessly integrating those calls to action
Okay.
within your content, but they got to feel natural, you know?
Right, not like a sales pitch.
Exactly, more like a suggestion.
Like an invitation.
Yeah, like, hey, if you want to learn more about this, check out this link.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's about providing value and then offering a way for people to go deeper if they choose to.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not about tricking people into buying something. It's about giving them the opportunity
Exactly.
if they're interested.
Yeah, and he encourages experimenting with different monetization strategies.
Okay.
Like an email list, selling products, offering consulting services.
Right, whatever works for you and your audience.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered content creation. Yep. Audience growth.
Mm-hmm.
Monetization. But what about building that personal media company? The team aspect.
Ah, yes, that's where things get really exciting.
Okay, tell me more.
Remember his weapons analogy?
Yeah, the superheroes?
Yeah, so he's basically saying, like, you need to build a team of specialists.
Okay, to take your brand to the next level.
Exactly. People who can handle all those tasks that you maybe don't have time for.
Right, like social media management,
Yes.
writing, video editing, all that good stuff.
And he emphasizes that you don't need to hire a huge team right away.
Okay.
Start small, see what areas you need help with.
Okay, and then you can scale up as you grow.
Exactly. It's all about being strategic.
So far, we've talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
From creating content to growing your audience to monetizing your brand to building a team.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah. But there's one crucial piece of the puzzle we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, and what's that?
This is something that I think really sets Matt Gray apart.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And it's a big part of why he's been so successful.
All right, you got to tell me more.
Well, for that, you're going to have to wait for part 3.
Oh, come on. You can't leave me hanging like that.
You just have to stay tuned.
All right, fine, but I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Okay, so we're back, and you left us hanging
I know.
with this secret ingredient to Matt Gray's success.
Right.
So, what is it?
Well, it's not really a secret ingredient.
Or-
It's more of a mindset, and I would call it systems thinking.
Systems thinking? Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So tell me more.
Okay, so basically it's about approaching your personal brand as a system. Like all the pieces, content creation, audience engagement, team building, it all works together.
Okay.
It's not just about doing things right, it's about designing a system that makes it hard to do things wrong.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and we've actually already seen this in action.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like remember his content waterfall system? He's not just creating random content. He has a system in place to maximize its impact.
Right, so it's like a repeatable process.
Exactly.
And this applies to more than just content, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, what about his weapons, the team building analogy?
Right, he's not just hiring random people.
Right.
He's assembling a team, carefully selecting people who will work together to amplify his brand.
So it's like this well-oiled machine.
Exactly. And the beauty of systems thinking is that it frees you up.
Okay.
Like, you're not constantly reacting to problems, you're being proactive.
I see. You're designing a system that anticipates the problems and has solutions already built in.
Yes, exactly.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what allows Matt Gray to scale his brand so effectively.
Right, because he's not limited by his own time and energy anymore.
Right, the system does the work for him.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not just a solo operator anymore. You're like the architect of your own success. I love that. But this isn't just limited to business, right?
No, not at all. You can apply systems thinking to anything, really.
Oh, wow.
Your health, your relationships, your finances.
So like, how do we actually start doing this?
Well, I would say start by looking at the areas where you're feeling stuck
Okay.
or overwhelmed and ask yourself, what processes can I streamline?
Mhm.
What systems can I put in place to make things easier?
And it's okay to experiment,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
You got to find what works for you.
So it's an ongoing process. You're always refining, always improving.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
I've really enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too.
I feel like we've learned a lot.
Yeah, Matt Gray's story is really inspiring. It shows that building a personal brand isn't about luck.
Right.
It's about hard work, dedication,
Strategy.
yes, and systems thinking.
That's right. So if you're ready to take your personal brand to the next level, remember, provide value
Build genuine connections.
and embrace systems thinking.
And don't forget about consistency.
That's right. Consistency is key.
And always be willing to learn and adapt.
The world of personal branding is always changing.
That's true.
But with the right mindset and strategies,
You can build a truly amazing brand.
absolutely. Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building your extraordinary brand.